What is an ethical vegan? Do you know? Many people use this term without really knowing what it means. Many people don't like this term without really knowing what it means. Well, an ethical vegan is a proper vegan, a true vegan, somebody that follows the official definition of the vegan society, which means is not involved or participate or support any exploitation of any animal for any purpose. The definition is quite clear. But many people feel that adding ethical before is not necessary. You just could use the word vegan. Well, I'm going to explain you why it's often necessary. And it has been necessary in my life. And anything I have achieved in my life successfully for the vegan movement were achieved precisely because I used the adjective ethical in front of vegan. So let me explain you a little bit the history of this. So the Vegan Society was created in 1944 and defined the word vegan. But it didn't really quite finalize the definition right there. It took decades, actually, to finalize it. In 1888, they found a final version, and they call that version the official definition of veganism. It hasn't changed since, which is quite good to have such a stability in a philosophy with a proper definition, which is official, which is a philosophy and lifestyle that seeks to exclude, as far as possible and practicable, all forms of animal exploitation and cruelty. So it's clear, all forms of animal exploitation, meaning any member of the animal kingdom, including us, of course. Well, that is what is an ethical vegan, somebody who follows this definition. But what happened is immediately after it was properly defined, other people said, well, I'm going to call myself vegan, but I only want to apply it to my diet. And of course, you could call these people food vegans. Although people might have said, I'm only going to apply it to my clothes. You could call them fashion vegans. Another could say, I'm only going to apply it to entertainment. They could be called entertainment vegans. Well, many of these never caught, but one of them did. The dietary vegans, the ones that only use the definition as far as the diet is concerned, become very numerous and grew up to the point that the general population started to assume that they were the actual vegans, those that had a vegan diet. But of course, that wasn't the case. So the proper vegans, they thought, well, we can't just let the public get confused and think that we are like them. So we're going to use an adjective in front of the word ethical to tell that we are different. We are the original ones, the true ones. That's where the word ethical vegan began. In the 80s, in the 80s was the first recorded cases of this term being used. So ethical vegan is not a new term. It's been there since the actual definition, the final version of the definition of the Vegan Society. Well, the word ethical vegan is not just only somebody who that is vegan and is an ethical person. There are any ethical people that could be non-vegan and many vegans that might not be ethical at all. It's like the word blackbird and blackbird. A blackbird is a bird that happens to be black. A blackbird is actually a species of bird, very common here in the UK. So an ethical vegan is not a vegan that happens to be ethical. It's a type of vegan, meaning a true vegan, a vegan who is following the definition of veganism of the Vegan Society, the proper vegan, an orthodox vegan. But of course these terms might not really quite work. Orthodox sounds too religious-like and also sounds archaic, as if there was an old-fashioned vegan. It is not about being old-fashioned. And proper vegan, proper is a term that perhaps is only used in Anglo-Saxon countries, difficult to translate. It also has something of a feeling of educational and polite, right, prudent. There's a bad taste of it. Ethical seems quite neutral in this regard, so it's kind of a good term, but of course confuses people because they don't quite understand what it means when they just use it. But remember, there are many adjectives that have become nouns like that. For instance, chartered accountant. That's not an accountant that has a chart. That is a thing in itself. Or Freemason. That's not a Mason who escaped from prison. This is a Mason who is a particular type of people following a particular ideology and rituals. Or I don't know, there might be animals like black-headed gull is not a gull that has a dirty head. Is a species of a gull. or red-crested newt. It's a species of newt. It's not a newt that got very embarrassed all of a sudden. Although actually the red-crested newt, they are the males that have the crest when they are in the breeding season. So they perhaps are a bit embarrassed as well. But this is different. So ethical vegan is a term in itself. It goes together and means somebody that follows the definition of veganism of the vegan society proper, and therefore you could say is a vegan. But if you just say, yeah, it's just a vegan, then most people will get confused because most people don't know the definition of veganism. Most people assume that vegan just means the diet. Therefore, if you want to communicate who you are, then you will have to say something more. And I don't really want to be confused with somebody that only uses veganism for the diet. I don't. I want people to know the difference. So I'm quite happy to use this term. And in fact, I use this term in my litigation. You know that ethical veganism has become a protected philosophical belief in the UK under the Equality Act 2010, which means in American they call it a protected class. But only ethical veganism, not veganism. Vegetarianism had been rejected before because it was just inconsistent, just a diet. Dietary veganism probably would be rejected for the same reasons, but not ethical veganism. Because I used the term ethical veganism, it was clear that I was talking more than just the diet. I was talking to something specific. And that meant that the judge, when wrote the written judgment saying, yeah, ethical veganism is protected, he said ethical veganisms are the ones that follows the definition of the vegan society and wrote the definition in the written judgment. So now it has become an official legal definition of ethical veganism. But it means both true vegan, ethical vegan, all these things, but you should not be afraid of using it. Because you would not just say, no, I don't want to call my veganism true vegan in case I offend somebody that has another definition and or another identity. They still use the word vegan and I don't want them to feel alienated. Or I don't want them to use the word, or I don't want to use the word proper vegan because I want people to think that perhaps I'm not proper. No, of course, you will be quite happy to use this adjective. So therefore, you should do the same. You should be happy to use the adjective ethical vegan to be sure that you're not confused somebody who has weakened the definition, who is not committed to the cause, who might have done it just for health and not just for the animals and the environment and social justice. And if you want to be sure that you are recognized as somebody who has followed the definition properly, you do it for all the reasons, ethical vegan is a good term for you.